So throughout the Kingdom Hearts series, I have to say, Xion is probably one of my favorite characters. She's a part of my favorite trio, which is of course the Seesaw Trio. She has a huge part in one of my favorite stories in the series, which is 358 Over 2 Days, and she has one of my favorite themes in the whole game. It's one of the character themes that actually has changed drastically throughout its time in the series, aside from sporadic leitmotifs and cutscenes. The original theme, Music for the Sadness of Xion, is my favorite song in the entire franchise. There's just something about this theme that's so melancholic yet so beautiful at the same time. It's fairly simple, yet for some reason, at least in my experience, has a lot of emotional awareness and complexity. And then it only gets amplified when you go to Vector to the Heavens, both the normal theme and the battle theme in KH3 Remind. So today I thought we'd take a little look behind the music and see what makes this theme so amazing. So, as I said earlier, Music for the Sadness of Xion is one of my favorite tracks in the game. I think the mood it captures is perfect for Xion and her situation while you go through 358 Over 2 Days. So that being said, let's take a listen. So one thing I like about this theme is how it's set up. The instrumentation of this theme, how different layers interact with each other, really isn't anything different from what we've heard so far in the series. But the way they're used is just really amazing here. The way the piano is used here isn't to create these lasting melodies or create this really, large bombastic chords. Each note is very delicate. The piano isn't like a running faucet of water, it's more letting it drip and drop one at a time. And while it isn't something that's specific to Xion's theme, this same thing kind of happens in Dearly Beloved, I think this theme pulls it off the best. But that being said, I think my favorite part is this part right here. So I'm gonna be honest with y'all, this part always kind of gets me, because it's at this point you have this solo violin playing this really beautiful lyrical line over this lush orchestra accompaniment, almost as if it's crying out, and then it settles down almost immediately with Kairi's theme. That to me is representative of how Xion the entirety of days sort of longs for her own existence so she can stay on top of the clock tower with her friends. But then Kairi's theme basically comes back in and reminds her of what it is that she needs to do and what she has to do that's right for everyone. And that's what I mean when I say this piece is very emotionally aware. Because I don't think there's been a piece that captures both the mood and the story of a character so well. Not only does it hint at the story with Xion being related to Kairi, but it's similar to how you can hear a leitmotif from Roxas in Ventus's theme. And if you don't know what a leitmotif is, it's basically a reference to a certain character or theme in a piece of music. But I really enjoy how this theme and how it portrays the character so well, and it only gets better when you get to Vector to the Heavens. In Vector to the Heavens, it's still the same theme, it's still Xion's theme, but at the same time it has a completely different atmosphere to it. This is made up of the same instruments, only piano and strings, but they're used very differently here. Earlier I was talking about the piano being more delicate in the original version of Xion's theme, but this basically takes that and does a 180 with it. And the texture here, how the layers interact with one another is very different, because the original theme had a much more slower, much more lyrical melody, almost like it wanted you to sit there for a while. But this one is much more complex. Even the piano, while playing these small delicate lines in Music for the Sadness of Xion, the piano now is playing these virtuosic figures just going crazy the entire time. And it's not a one-to-one recreation by any means, but I arranged a little bit of it so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. It's a dramatic change from the original theme, but at this point in the story it makes sense, because this is where Xion is fighting Roxas, one of her best friends, in order to basically to save his life. And I think the music reflects this, because here you have this very grand and very epic battle theme in the orchestra that's accompanied by a very graceful piano on top that showcases the power that Xion possesses, but the sort of gentle nature that still prevails, which makes it even more heartbreaking when you realize that she's doing all of this to return what she took from Sora. This theme to me shows the strong resolve of Xion doing what has to be done, even though it'll end up with not only her death, but with everyone's memories of her disappearing, which personally I think is a fate much worse than that. And then we get to one of the best data battle tracks from Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, and honestly Xion's original theme is my favorite, but this had it beat for a couple of days when it first released. And that's because I was expecting just her original theme similar to what we got for the Data Roxas fight in KH2, but no, what we got was more different than anything we were expecting. Now with the original theme of Xion and Vector to the Heavens, it kind of changed along with the story. The original theme played off of course, the sadness of Xion and was definitely more of a representation of her character. Vector to the Heavens played off of the emotions of Xion as she fought Roxas. But this one is interesting in its own right because it's not as one-to-one as the previous themes were. At this point, it's not really related to anything we knew about her since she just returned near the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. If the original theme is called Music for the Sadness of Xion, this is definitely music for the anger of Xion. But I like this because it's so different than her original theme, but in a good way. You still have the original orchestral theme that was present in Vector to the Heavens, but you get these new elements of a rock band that create this sort of fusion between rock and classical to create this new genre, and it fits with the fight so well. If the original theme was associated with sadness and Vector to the Heavens is associated with resolve, this theme is definitely associated with power or fury. Once the song starts going, it's non-stop and just keeps going. And also, the drums in this piece have one part right before the main theme and they just go off, and it's so cool. Since Xion's back in action after the events of Kingdom Hearts 3, and if this theme is playing into what we could see for the future of her character development, we could see a potentially more aggressive version of Xion. But at this point we're getting into theory crafting and we'll save that for another time. But I really enjoy how this theme has evolved over time, because throughout the series we've got a ton of character themes, but I like how this one has changed so much over time and gotten better and better with each version. And it is possible that the music is just updating as the game calls for it, but it's just interesting that for a character that hasn't really been around for a while, her theme has evolved and changed so much throughout the series, and I for one can't wait to see what Yoko Shimomura creates for us going forward. But that's going to be all from me today, so this is Moose Wayne, signing off.